I am Dr. Rajendran Govender, right? I have a consultancy, Mzansi Empowerment Enterprise, and I'm an appointed social cohesion advocate in the government of South Africa. About 11 years ago, I was working for the Department of Arts and Culture in KwaZulu-Natal. And one of my main roles was to promote social cohesion and nation building. So I was invited to an event that was hosted by the Turkish Harmony Institute in Durban. And when I attended the event, I was amazed at the lovely work that was being done by the organization. And I've shown a keen interest in the workings of the organization and all the activities and programs that they were doing, so that as a department that was promoting social cohesion and nation building, we can learn a lot from an organization that's doing a marvelous piece of work. And I was invited to go to Turkey in 2010 to have first-hand experience of the Turkish Harmony Institute, of the Hizmet Movement and all its aligned structures. That's how I was introduced to the wonderful work of the Turkish Harmony Institute. The Hizmet Movement, which promotes tolerance, peace, dialogue and outreach, right, is an ideally structured organization and very well placed to assist in South Africa with a multitude of cultures and religious groups and so on. South Africa is one country which has such a diversity of cultures, and it is a common understanding throughout the world. When there's such diversity, there will be problems, and we need to find meaningful solutions to address those problems. South African government and other associated structures are doing some work in promoting understanding, tolerance, social cohesion, nation building, etc. But if there is an organization that is doing such remarkable work and have a recipe for success, then why should we not engage with such an organization? So the Hizmet Movement is that such organization. We have such turmoil throughout the world, where ideologies, political, religious, cultural, social ideologies are creating serious problems in different parts of the world, including South Africa. An organization that bypasses all those glories and bypasses all those religious and cultural ideologies and bring people together in a common platform is the answer and a solution to the varied problems that we have in the world. So Turkish Harmony Institute and the Hizmet Movement globally promote tolerance, they promote dialogue, they promote understanding, and that is the answer. When you get people around the table to sit and talk about the highlights, talk about the challenges, and find meaningful solutions. They bring people from all religious, cultural groups together to sit around the table in its many, many interfaith and intercultural and intergenerational dialogues that they have throughout the country and throughout the world, because I've had experience of going to other parts of the world as well and seeing exactly what is being done. I don't like the word tolerance. We can't tolerate each other. We should not be tolerating another person. We should be embracing. And the Hizmet Movement has that firm principle and firm understanding that let's sit around the table and embrace each other. And that is what is so remarkable of the organization. And if you have an organization with an understanding of bringing people around the table to talk and solve those problems and come with meaningful solutions, then we are in a very positive journey. The Hizmet Movement creates that foundation, provides that opportunity for people to bypass everything and come and work towards finding solutions in the world. That's what makes the Hizmet Movement different from other organizations, because you'll find certain organizations are steadfast on promoting a certain religious ideology or promoting a certain political ideology. The Hizmet movement do not allow politics or religion to disturb its ability to try to find meaningful solutions. Everyone belongs to different religions. I am a Hindu, for example, right? You have Christians, you have Jews and everything. They all have certain ideologies. They have certain doctrines in which they follow, which is very important, because in order for us to be good human beings, right, we need to follow a certain doctrine. I'm living in a world where there's a common humanity, where we all belong to one human race. We have different religions, different languages that we communicate with. So where and when will there be an opportunity for me to understand a Christian brother more better, or a Muslim brother more better, or Jewish more better? So there needs to be an opportunity to bring them all together so that we can talk and share our religion, practices and so on. And that is where the interfaith dialogue, which is a very, very important component of the Hizmet movement, satisfies that need, provide that opportunity, because they will have regular workshops where people from different religious groups will present the importance of Deepavali, for example, the importance of Christmas, the importance of Easter, the importance of Ramadan. So all these activities are brought so that we can understand people better, and that is why it's important, so that I can go back after going through an interfaith dialogue and impart that same understanding to my child, for example, to make them understand that you are attending a school where there's so many different religions, but at the end of the day, we need to understand there's one common purpose, and the common purpose is to learn to be a proper human being once again. And that's what the Hizmet movement has done through its interfaith dialogues, to make people understand what it is to be human again. If you look in the continent of Africa alone, there are over 100 Hizmet-aligned educational institutions that promote education from the formative stages of a child's life until they finally leave the school system after grade 12. One of the priorities of the Hizmet movement and Fethullah Gulen is to promote sound and just education, because education is the answer to eradicating poverty. Education is the answer to developing leaders in the world. Education can transform a society. Without education, society will disintegrate. Now, the Hizmet-aligned schools provide sound education. Since democracy, it was a battle to get the schools properly resourced. So private schools and Model C schools with all the resources were doing a marvelous piece of work in promoting very good sound education. But then that became a problem. The problem is only the rich can afford to go to these schools. Only the rich. That means we are not making any inroads, and we're not making any changes in South Africa if we continue with that situation. And then came the Star Colleges and the Hizmet Movement aligned structures, which opened the doors to people from disadvantaged communities by providing scholarships and by providing opportunities, right, of providing sound education. And since its inception, most of the schools had 100% pass rates in the grade 12 examination. One student received 12 A's from Star College here and is now in Oxford University. What is the reason? Is because of the dedication and commitment of the teachers that are here from Turkey as well as local teachers that are here to provide quality education to the disadvantaged society, is most of these teachers volunteer their services at a very, very low salary structure, but because it ties in with the philosophy of the Hizmet movement, where volunteerism is the key word. Fethullah Gulen have always stated in all his teachings, if you volunteer with an expectation of some reward, then you are going against the grain of the Hizmet movement. You need to volunteer without any expectation. And all these teachers that are doing the wonderful piece of work are doing with one aim in mind, is to develop potential leaders in society. Apart from educational institutions that the Hizmet movement have in South Africa, they are also doing a remarkable piece of work in terms of outreach, where volunteers go out to disadvantaged members of the community, and they have programs like feeding schemes, where food and nutritious food, not just ordinary food, but nutritious food, proper clothing, proper equipment, etc. are taken to the people so that they can empower them. Because if you empower somebody, they become sustainable. No use going and giving free handouts. You need to help people to be sustainable, and it contributes to the sustainable development of the country, where people are trained in sewing classes, where in the rural areas and so on, sewing machines are given by the Hizmet movement so that people can make a living. And once you make a living and your stomach is full, then there's no need to go in to do criminal activities or unsavory social activities, because you now have a skill. Because if you transform a person's mindset and you train them how to be skilled, then they become sustainable. And they in turn will contribute towards developing their family and so on. During COVID-19, Hizmet movement volunteers were active. They were giving PPEs. They were providing masks, they were providing thermometers, they were providing stuff that was essentially vital in overcoming this pandemic. Is the same people, the same volunteers that was doing this remarkable work are being persecuted by their own leadership in the country that they came from. They are here labeled as terrorists, right? They cannot go back to Turkey. They cannot go back to see their family. I've seen this in Australia as well, where the educators from Turkey that are working as part of the Hizmet movement's philosophy of doing volunteer work in other parts of the world, because of the unsavory leadership style of the current leadership in Turkey, these people who are aligned to the Hizmet movement, who are in turn aligned to the leader Fethullah Gulen, are branded as terrorists, and they are not allowed to come back to the country. If they come back, they will be arrested, like what they have done to all the journalists, all the teachers, all the doctors, the medical personnel and so on that were aligned to Hizmet movement were arrested in Turkey. Now, these volunteers that are here in South Africa and other parts of the world, despite all those challenges of not going back and not seeing their family, which is a human atrocity. It's not supposed to happen, not in this day and age when we're trying to work towards peaceful coexistence. But despite all that, these volunteers have not shirked their duty. They've continued unabatedly to teach, to provide the resources, to provide the outreach programs and so on. Now that is an example of an unselfish mentality that is promoted by the Hizmet movement and its leader, Fethullah Gulen. The Hizmet movement and all its volunteers are doing a remarkable piece of work in South Africa. If that same principle and ideology can be transformed to existing people in this country, the inhabitants of this country, if they can make and change the mindsets of those people. And if those people in turn continue doing the work of the Hizmet movement, because we can't leave it to a few volunteers. We need to skill, train, and develop other people with a similar ideology. And the more you do that, there will be more outreach. The more outreach will be, the community becomes in peace with itself. More schools like the Star College is established in rural areas in other parts of the country because you have now inculcated that skills to local people. Then there is a recipe for success. The Hizmet movement have a recipe. That recipe needs to be shared with the local inhabitants. When I visited Turkey twice to visit the Hizmet aligned structures and the wonderful work that they're doing in different parts of Turkey, I was amazed at the wonderful humanitarian work that they were doing. And after that coup that took place in Turkey, and those same people that I saw that were doing such remarkable humanitarian work, that were taken, separated from the families, imprisoned, to me, it was totally unacceptable. So much so that as a person from the outside and have been seeing the wonderful work these people were doing, I've written every year since then an open letter to the President of Turkey to tell him that what he's doing is wrong. In schools, in hospitals, other institutions, all have been closed down because of one political ideology, and it's so incorrect. But I would like to say to all the people out there, continue. That great Almighty up there is watching over you. The work that you have been doing then, now, and what you intend doing in the future will not go incorrect, will not be in vain. Continue, and continue. Support the ideology of your leader, Fethullah Gulen, because he has, in all his teachings, have been promoting understanding, good work, volunteerism, and you have been doing it. This is a very bad period. It will pass. Someday, it will pass. So don't stop, right? Continue. I know it's a very difficult period. You cannot see your family. You have very limited opportunities of interacting. You're somewhere far away from your family in a different country that you have adopted as your new home, right? Continue, because one day, very soon, things will change and you'll be back with your family. Nelson Mandela was one of the most greatest leaders that this world has ever seen. He was imprisoned for 27 years. But when he was released, normal situation will be you'll go and take revenge. But Mandela's ideology of reconciliation and peace was key, because when he was released, the first thing he did was to go and meet all those people that put him in prison in the first place, so that he can sit and dialogue with them, so that he can find a common understanding. Because he had to forgive in order to find peace, a peaceful solution to South Africa's democracy. That showed the rest of the world, and it showed the rest of the country and the majority of people in this country, that if Mandela can be a symbol of peace and reconciliation. So why don't we do the same? Now, Fethullah Gulen, in all his teachings, in the promotion and the establishment of the Hizmet movement, that ideology was the same: peace, understanding, and reconciliation. Nowhere throughout the world I've been exposed to the Hizmet movement when I found that it was different to those ideologies. So there's strong parallels between Nelson Mandela and Fethullah Gulen, where they all promoted the same ideology. And if we continue following the teachings of these two leaders, and we inculcate a small iota of the understanding of their principles, then we will be better human beings again. And if we are better human beings again, it will be such a pleasure living on this planet. When I was first introduced to the Hizmet movement in 2010, I was an ordinary individual trying my best to promote social cohesion and nation building. However, I was flooded after 2010, my first engagement. I was transformed. I was so motivated to do so much more. After seeing what individuals in the Hizmet movement is doing, I became so encouraged and motivated. And since then, I have not stopped. I am continued because I've been injected with that enthusiasm and that spirit of doing service to humanity. Because if you do service to humanity, you are doing service to God. So I and my family have been tremendously impacted by the work of the Hizmet movement, and I don't think so I will ever stop. My greatest dream is one day to see Fethullah Gulen and tell him that you have transformed me, and I in turn have transformed so many other people because of you. Thank you.